There we go. There we go. Hey guys, what up, guys? I just wanted to jump on here and I realized that Trump is going live. Not live, he's actually doing a show on Hannity tonight. And so I wanted to tune in. And I also wanted to share it with you guys because I really just felt like I wanted to tonight. And so we'll see how this goes. But share this out. I don't see anybody watching yet, but that's all right. We'll get there. Um, I wanted to broadcast this right now. Currently, Hannity is still talking. It is saying that Trump will be on shortly, but I want to hear this. I want to hear what they say. I want to talk about it, share it. So I see you guys coming in. There you go. Let me know who's here. Who's here? Hey, Cindy, I see you. Um, oh, is this it? No, this is a replay from earlier. But right now, I wanted to go over. Hey, Kim. I see you guys coming in here now. So this is random, completely random. I should have, if I was gonna plan this, I would have mentioned it earlier, but I realized that Trump is on Hannity tonight, which it's pre-recorded. And I hate that. I wish it was more live. Um, Trump is more fun in a live environment than he is in pre-recorded because I like to see him off the cuff. But it says currently, like I'll bring it up here and show you guys. I'm gonna mute it though. See, it says moments away, but I want us to go over this together. I want us to see what Trump and Hannity go over, us talk about it. I got my pen, some paper. We're going to talk about what is discussed, and we're going to see what they go over. I hope, I'm curious, who wants to see this out of it? Who's in the chat that would like to see Trump and Hannity? I have some biased opinion, but I don't want to share it yet. So if you want to see Trump on Hannity and this whole thing, throw a 1 in the chat. Throw a 2 if you're not going to watch it. Throw a 0 if you really just don't care. Because I do think there's a don't care, and then there's just I'm not going to watch it. Because most people have their minds made up, in my opinion, when it comes to Trump or not at this point, and that's okay. That's honestly okay. It's your opinion, it's your right, it's your freedom within this country is to vote for who you want to represent you. And I don't, you guys, this is no surprise. I think Trump wins in a landslide. I don't see anybody beating him. It's just no one. But I'm looking off to my left. And so when you guys see me look over, it's because that's the screen I have up with the show, so I can bring up Trump and Hannity. Danny, interested one. I'm curious to know why. Because you are against USA Inc. But if you're against USA Inc., that is one of the biggest things that Trump could promote is more USA Inc. So I'm curious on what you mean by that. And I expect it. I see you guys in here. Ones, yeah. I expect that, and I respect that. I understand why. You cannot deny what 2019, the United States of America of 2019. You can't deny where we were at back then. You just can't. Our country was thriving, the economy was amazing, and all of that. But COVID really did is Trump as strong-willed as we all think. COVID kind of exposed a little bit that he caves, but did he learn? It's very well possible. Is he better than Biden? Absolutely, absolutely. So we'll see how that plays out. Cindy, let's see what Cindy said. I don't trust Hannity much anymore, though. I'd like to see this. Just listen to listen to Trump and listen to how and what Hannity tries to twist to keep his job. Valid, very valid. I I honestly don't think. Oh, looks like it might be starting. But I'll end this real quick because he's just walking out. I'll keep this muted so you guys can see. But yeah, I'm not a big Hannity fan. If Fox News would fire Tucker Carlson but not Hannity, what does that tell you about Hannity? That's the question I'll pose to you. If Fox News will fire Tucker but they will not fire Hannity, tells you who's playing the right games, right? Um, he has a team of winners. I agree and disagree. Fauci, for example, that's why I would disagree. Just want to hear what he has to say. I agree with that. Not getting any notifications. I'm sorry, Tony. It's social media, but let's turn this on. Let's hear what he has to say. Can you guys hear it? Throw in a thumbs up.
I love you too. By the way, I've lost all control of this debate as well. Here we go. Let me ask you, when you look at this, you look at the polls, you see the enthusiasm.
Can you guys hear that?
Rallies and crowds.
Thumbs up if you guys can.
How are you feeling about the race?
I feel great. I feel it's, it has to be. If it's not, we're going to be in big trouble. We're not going to have a country anymore. We have no choice. And we have had enthusiasm. Look, we did phenomenally in 2016. We did much better in 2020. And I will tell you, the enthusiasm, some bad things happened, but the enthusiasm that they have now is bigger than either of those two races. And, we're actually less than a year out, but close to a year. I've never seen anything like it. We have crowds that are incredible. In Iowa, we were here last week. We had overflow crowds. And other candidates have like 7 people standing in a farm, and they're talking, and it's a very nice thing to watch, especially for me. I enjoy watching that. But we have tremendous enthusiasm because they want to see, I see Biden talking about, oh, MAGA, MAGA. MAGA means make America great again. That's what it means. And that's what people want. They want, see that gentleman? They want to see our country be great again. Right now, we're not a great country. We're a country in decline. We are a declining country. We're laughed at all over the world. People that respected us 3 years ago, they respected us. You wouldn't have Ukraine and Russia. You wouldn't have had the attack on Israel. You wouldn't have had that withdrawal. You would have withdrawn, but we would have withdrawn from Afghanistan with tremendous strength and power. And that's the way I had it set up. In Afghanistan, we didn't lose a soldier. Many soldiers were being killed by snipers and others during the Obama administration. And Biden was there. I guess he wasn't doing so much other than collecting some cash, probably. But many soldiers were killed. And I spoke to the head of the Taliban. I said, don't do it. Don't do it. For 18 months, we didn't lose one soldier in Afghanistan. Nobody knows that. Until that fateful day where they killed our soldiers. They killed our, think of it, they killed our soldiers. They left Americans behind, and you covered better than anybody. And they also left $85 billion of the best military equipment, because I rebuilt the military. They left $85 billion, not million, $1 billion worth of military equipment behind in the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. And the people of this country just don't want to take this anymore. So we gave them $85 billion. They killed our people, and they have people there. They have Americans there that we didn't even get out. It was like a surrender. And after that, Russia said, well, these people are incompetent. They're overrated. And they went in, they attacked Ukraine. That would have never happened. A million years. I used to speak to Putin about it. It was the apple of his eye, Ukraine, the apple of his eye. And I said, don't do it. Don't do it. I won't tell you exactly, but it was tough. In fact, he said, you wouldn't do that. I said, yes, I will. No, you won't. You won't do it. And, he didn't believe me, but he believed me 10%. That's all he had to believe me. And he never did anything. I mean, he never did anything. And, by the way, President Xi with Taiwan, I had the same conversation, different cities and different countries. I had the same exact conversation. And he would have absolutely, he's looking at Taiwan very strongly. It would have never happened. And again, for 4 years, it didn't happen. And it was never going to happen. And now it's very possibly going to happen, which would be a shame. So it's one of those things. Thank you. I'd like to be back. Thank you.
Let me ask you this. Earlier today, Joe Biden, I'm sure he mumbled the words as usual. He said this: if Trump wasn't running, I'm not sure I'd be running, he said at a campaign event today. How do you react to that?
Well, I think somebody gave him a talking point. They thought that would sound good.
Yes.
I just found out that Democrats are funding Nikki Haley's campaign. I hear that Democrats are contributing to Ron DeSantis's, or Ron DeSanctimonious, to Ron DeSantis' campaign. And then you hear the talking points. That's the only thing they're good at, cheating on elections and great talking points. They say, we want to run against Trump. They want to run. Well, we did really well in 2016, and we did so much better in 2020. The person they don't want to run against is us. It's us. It's not me. It's us. Because it's a movement, the likes of which this country, Sean, has never seen before.
At the beginning,
No, we have never seen the likes of what we've all done together. This is me, not me, it's everybody here and millions and millions. I think it's not 75 million people. I think it's 150 million people. It might be more than that. I mean, who doesn't want to see strong borders and a strong military and low taxes and low interest rates and go out and buy a house?
I played on purpose because I see what the media is doing now. I will put a montage together. They want to call you a dictator. You use the words, I am your retribution. And now before that, you said if you've been wronged, and you used other words as well. But I want to be very, very clear on this. To be clear, do you in any way have any plans whatsoever, if reelected president, to abuse power, to break the law, to use the government to go after people?
Dumb
You mean like
question.
they're using right now? So, in the history of our country, what's happened to us, again, has never happened before. Over nonsense, over nothing, made up charges. I often say Al Capone, he was one of the greatest of all time, if you like criminals. He was a mob boss, the likes of which Scarface, they call him. And he got indicted once. I got indicted 4 times. I wonder what my father and mother would say looking down.
We had a lot of private conversations in the lead up to your announcement and the day that
Notice
you
the
came
cuts
down
in
that
this,
escalator.
guys. Clearly,
And
they cut out a
that
bunch.
lead up. I mean, we had some passionate discussions back and forth. You were telling me that Iraq should give us oil to pay for the war, and American blood should not be shed overseas in these long, protracted wars. We talked a lot about that, and you have been under fire from that day forward. Russia, you talk about it all the time. Now you face as many as 4 criminal trials during an election year. Now, I've said this publicly, and I'll say it here in Iowa. I'm not sure that Donald Trump can get a fair trial in New York, Washington, D.C. I don't think you can get a fair trial in Fulton County, Georgia. Now, where I think you would do better in terms of real justice would be on appeal. The trials will take place during...
Let's do it in Iowa.
There you go.
He's
So
innocent.
but that has got to weigh heavy on you. And what is your reaction to that, considering all the charges all stem from a couple of years ago?
Yeah, they could have done this 3 years ago, and it would have been long over. But they didn't want to bring them because they had no case. And then they saw how well we're doing in the polls.
They still have
the
no
two
case.
questions I get more than any other is, number one, will they do it again, sir? Will they do it again? Will you stop them? And we're going to stop them. Number two is, how do you take it? How do you get up in the morning and how do you take it? And that part is easy for me to say. I love what I do because we are going to make our country greater than ever before. And it's so important. It's so important. We are going to do things. We're going to close the border. Day one, the border gets closed. And day 1.5, we drill. You know, we drill, baby, drill. Drill, drill, drill. And probably on day 2, we'll get rid of this ridiculous electric car mandate. We have to go and buy a car. We're going to buy a
Competition
car.
is healthy.
And it doesn't go far. You know, there's a little problem. It's very expensive and it doesn't go far. So I guess they want to keep you away from going too long a distance from your home. But the whole thing is crazy. You know, they want to make now electric army tanks and they want to make electric trucks. But
I
the
want an electric
trucks don't
army
go
tank.
very far. You know, on a diesel fuel truck, the big ones, great ones, you go 2,000 miles. On an electric truck, you have nothing left because the battery is so large. Believe it or not, it takes up most of the space, so that's a little problem. But it only goes 300 miles.
That's just right now.
It doesn't matter to them. A child would understand, therefore you can't do it. You talk about a supply chain problem, therefore you can't do it. The country is sick. And you say this, Do they know what they're doing? Are they smart? Or do they know what they're doing? How could they do it? I see John Kerry all over the place talking about we have to get rid of our coal plants, and yet China is building one coal plant a week, massive coal plants.
Yes.
And they're doing it just automatically. And John Kerry wants us to stop doing anything. We can't. We have a country. We have to fire up our factories. Wind is not going to fire up our factories, and it's the most expensive energy. Even solar. I like solar from a concept standpoint, but it's massively expensive. And we can't allow China to build a factory a week, and we do nothing. They build a coal
And John
plant,
Kerry
they're
flies in
obvious
his
about
private
it.
jet around the world.
And then
to do
Biden
these
goes to see
convention
them about
talks, by the way.
global warming. The only global warming we should be thinking about and worrying about, because it could happen tomorrow, is nuclear global warming, not global warming.
Agreed.
We almost have to go to a break.
Nuclear is ideal.
I want to go back to this one issue, though, because the media has been focused on this and attacking you.
Yeah.
Under no circumstances, you are promising America tonight you would never abuse power as retribution against anybody.
Except for day one.
Except
Look,
for?
he's going crazy. Except for day one.
Meaning?
I want to close the border, and I want to drill.
That's
drill,
not that's
drill.
That's not abuse of power.
Retribution. I got.
I'm gonna be. You know, he keeps. We love this guy. He says, "You're not going to be a dictator, are you?" I said, "No, no, no. Other than day one, we're closing the border, and we're drilling. After that, I'm not a
Fair
dictator."
statement.
That sounds to me like you're going back to the policy.
You're
when
protecting
president.
America.
All right,
That's
take
what
a
should
break.
be done.
Just getting started. We're in beautiful Davenport, Iowa. Donald Trump with us for the hour as Hannity continues. Thank you for being with us.
Hang on one second. Let me mute this. We don't need to be playing ads. But so I'll bring it back up as soon as I see this ad goes away. But overall, he's starting off great, saying the right things, of course, but he is 100% accurate when he talks about no American soldiers have died under his watch, and they did go 18 months without one dying because he didn't go and start wars. He didn't. And that's one of the things that I do put a huge chip in his hat is he didn't push the warmongering that you're hearing from the Republicans, especially, for example, he mentioned her already, Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley is pounding those war drums like no other Republican has ever pounded them before. These wars that are going on, we don't need to be involved in. And that is one thing with Trump is he never pushed that. Good for him. The part that I don't have confidence in this, by the way, is Hannity is not going to throw him any solid questions or questions that we want to hear answers to, but we'll see. I hope he does, but we'll see. He won't push revolution either. It's our duty. 100%. I was going to follow up on that and say that's not the president's job. That is the American citizen's job. By the way, guys, I'm going to bring it back up. I just sparing you guys the commercials and commenting on it is all. So Trump will be back up on here when the commercials are done. I'm just looking at it over on my left shoulder. Your guys is right, I think. Yeah. Anyways, the other thing that he talked about that I do agree, America is being the laughing stock around the world. Yes, that was the same of when Trump ran in 2016. We were the laughing stock around the world. Afghan exit, no doubt thinking that Trump would have done it better. I honestly don't think you could do it worse. Biden did it horribly, and killed 13 American soldiers in Afghanistan because of his piss poor exit. So yes, Trump's right. Now, when he says he's going to be a dictator, I hate that question. That's being driven by some other narrative in media trying to say Trump is not going to be a dictator, probably because the current media, which we talked about in Truth Will Set You Free, that there's a big push that Trump will never leave office. He won't. Trump will leave office. 2020, he left office. Did he do it like every other president in history? No. But he did leave. He just left. So he's not going to get in there and stay in there. That's not going to happen. They're trying to put in fear into people that we're going to have some crazy dictator, but then we're bypassing everything we have with Joe Biden currently in office, which is absolutely ridiculous. At least when Trump asked a question, he will answer it. Well, yeah, he kind of will. So remember, Trump didn't really want to answer the questions about vaccines and those things and a lot of the COVID stuff, which is where he has a lot of negative coming at him, is his handling with COVID and caving and his excuses on why he didn't fire Fauci. Those are the big things that I have against him, because if you don't stand up to that, then how can I expect you to stand up to others? But I do give you guys credit. If you guys want to support him, so be it. That's okay. I just want to see a complete change when it comes to me. I want to see a complete change. We're going to do something new. We're going to move forward. That's where I'm kind of leaning towards Vivek, but I really do feel Vivek is being lined up as Trump's number 2 for the he's going to be the VP, because they're both sending the same message through and through. It's the same message. So we'll see how that plays out. He didn't concede, though. He was forced out through corruption. But Cindy, what you're talking about is what I'm saying, is that he didn't do the normal process in leaving. He just left. And I'm okay with that. Does it look all super fancy and professional? And in some, I would probably, in Trump's situation, might handle it the same way. That if you guys did what you did, you guys didn't win fair and square. I'm just gonna walk out and just be done, and just call it, because that's what else can you do? And so I understand it. I do. Torino wants healing. Me three. Me three. That's one of the reasons why I look forward to when Cash gets out. When Cash gets out, we need to have more positive messages, not party politics. Positive messages, not party politics. I'm just wondering what was out of Trump's control. He was surrounded. I'm not sure I follow that question, Danny. If you want to elaborate a little bit. Just have to wait and see what happens in 2024. 100%, Rose. We're 11 months away. 11 months away. And I really think 90% of America already has their mind made up. 90% of America has probably already got their mind made up on who they're voting for. I don't see it's going to change. Here he is. He's coming back.
And welcome back to Hannity. We are broadcasting live tonight. Beautiful Davenport, Iowa. Thank you all for coming. We continue now with former President Donald Trump as we now head into the Iowa caucus season. A two-part question on Joe Biden. One is about his cognitive decline, and the second is about the Biden family syndicate, as I call it. Let's first play an RNC ad about Joe Biden. Take a look.
But the nature, not when the political coverage,
Yeah, I got to listen to my earpiece.
look, some of the political players and some of the, let me ask a rhetorical question. No, I won't. Anyways.
Now,
No, of course, that was clipped by
tape
Fox
almost
News, of
every
course,
day.
but
I
still,
think
it
another
can't be
horrible
that far
moment
off.
for him was that gaggle on Air Force One after he left Israel.
Yeah.
So my question is, what do you think about his cognitive state? And number two, the issue of Hunter Biden, Joe Biden lying to the country as a candidate and president. I never had a discussion with Hunter or my brother or anybody for that matter on foreign business deals. We know, according to Devin Archer, he was on phone calls. We know he was meeting with oligarchs like the former First Lady of Moscow at Cafe Milano. Doesn't seem to get the attention in the media that anything involving you gets. What is your reaction to both?
Well, you know, they've been after all of my numbers and facts and figures, and they found out that it was incredible. Somebody said, you must be the most honest guy in the world, because after all these years, and they saw everything, my tax returns, they saw everything, went up to the ceiling and they saw it. He is number one from your standpoint, cognitively. You like to use that word, cognitively. He's not good, but it's not for me to say. I will say this. I just saw a commercial by these lowlifes where they took me imitating him at a speech where we were all having a lot of fun. It's not really fun because we shouldn't be joking about it. I actually told Sean, you shouldn't joke about it. It's serious. We're dealing with nuclear. We're dealing with
By the way, that
other
is
leaders.
a true story. You
That's true.
actually called me and said, it's not funny, because I was
Not
joking
fun.
about it.
That's not funny
And
at all.
I said, I thought about it and I said, you're right. And I said, how come you never listen to my advice?
But it's true. It's actually true, unfortunately.
Accordion hand.
But, you know, I imitated him, not finding his way off the stage. It's not really that hard. You're looking around and I walk into a wall. I say, let me see. And I do that a lot. You know, I just sort of at some of our rallies. And then I'll say, our real president is Barack Hussein Obama. They'll say, he doesn't know who the president is. He thinks it's Barack Hussein. No, I'm being sarcastic. So they imitate it, but they're disgraceful. I'll tell you what, we are dealing, and you are dealing. I got to know them all, the leaders of the world. I got to know them all, and they're at the top of their game. Some are bad people, some are decent people. They all have one thing in common. They want what's good for their country, whether it's President Xi of China or Kim Jong-un of North Korea. You would have been, if Hillary got in, you would have been in a nuclear war. That would have been a nuclear war. Any one of them, they're all, including Macron of France. I mean, you can go to any of them. Putin, they're at the top of their game. We have somebody that was never at the top of his game. 25 years ago, he wasn't one of the light bulbs. He wasn't one of the bright ones. And I tell the story. So Ted Kennedy, believe it or not, was a friend of mine because of Palm Beach. They lived in Palm Beach at what's called the Kennedy compound. And I did him a big favor one time, and somehow he liked me, I liked him, even though we were opposite in many ways, politically certainly. And I said to him, who's the smartest guy in the Senate? And he gave me a name. I don't want to tell you because I really don't like the guy at all. Still around. I said, who's the dumbest? He said, probably Joe. I said, who's Joe? Joe Biden. It's the first time. I said, and that was it. And now I see when he's not in prime time for himself, I mean, years later, he failed on being president when he was like normal. Something is going wrong, and we can't afford it because we have a problem today. Nuclear weapons is the single biggest problem the world has. And we have people, you know, it used to be 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, even 3 years ago, nobody would have thought about nuclear. You couldn't mention the word. Now it's being mentioned at every meeting. Every time you talk, it's being mentioned. The level of power of the nuclear weapons is incredible.
Scary.
Like take Hiroshima or take Nagasaki, and you look, and that was many, many decades ago, and multiply that times 500. That's what a big bomb would be today, whether it's Israel or really major countries. Nuclear weapons are the biggest problem we have, and we have a man that can't put two sentences together. We have a man that doesn't know he's alive, and he's backed up by the media. The biggest problem we have, the media. The media is fake. I came up with the term a long time ago, and they won't talk about it.
And let me ask you this.
If I did some of the things that he did,
Fake news.
they'd reinstitute the death penalty. Okay? They don't want to talk about it. When he gets paid $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow's wife, when I brought it up at a debate, and Chris Wallace was moderating. How's he doing, by the way? Not too good. Chris Wallace, whatever happened to Chris Wallace? And I said, why is he getting $3.5 million? I want to ask him that question. And Chris Wallace interceded because Joe didn't know he was alive. And so Chris Wallace interceded, and he said, you shouldn't be asking that. And now it's a big subject. And I talked about it literally 3 years ago. But why does all this money come in from China? You know, we took in hundreds of billions of dollars in taxes and tariffs from China. We gave the farmers, by the way, $28 billion. That's why I say I'm going to win Iowa. I had my people say, please, sir, don't keep saying you're going to win Iowa. You sound so really horrible. Crass. Somebody said crass. I said, but it's true. We're going to win Iowa. I gave the farmers $28 billion and I got it from China. Who else could do that? Who else would be able to do it? Number one, who else would think about it? I think about it because the farmers were hurt very badly by China for many years. And I asked our Secretary of Agriculture, Sonny Perdue, I said, Sonny, how much damage has been done over the past 7 years, 8 years? He came back, $28 billion. I said, I'm getting it from China. And I got it. And I told the farmers, go out and buy more land and go out and buy bigger tractors, right? You remember that?
Agreed.
And I said, I'm going to win Iowa because nobody else is going to be able to do that.
Let me ask you, when prominent Democratic voices like Maureen Dowd and David Axelrod and Van Jones and others are so critical of Joe Biden, and of course, he is struggling cognitively. I can't think of, in the last couple of months, any appearance that he has had where he wasn't either mumbling or bumbling or stumbling or having no clue where to go, where to exit. Now, my question is, do you think in 11 months he will be their candidate?
I personally don't think he makes it. Okay, I haven't said that. I'm saving it for this big town hall. I personally don't think he makes it. I think he's in bad shape physically. Do you remember when he said, I'd like to take him behind the barn? If he took me behind the barn and I went like this, I believe he'd fall over. I believe he'd fall over. But who knows? Who knows? But it was okay. And by the way, it was okay for him to say that. He said, I'd like to take him behind the... He could say that and everyone thought it was so cute. If I ever said it, they'd say, he's a dictator. He's a horrible human being. You know, it's a whole double standard we have, and not only in the law, but just about everything else, as you know very well. I personally don't think he makes it physically. I watched him at the beach. He wasn't able to lift a beach chair, which is meant for children to lift. You can lift it like that. And mentally, I would say he's possibly equally as bad and maybe worse, but I don't know. I will say this, he's got vicious people surrounding him around that beautiful Oval Office. There are people in that Oval Office that are evil people, bad people, smart people, young, vicious, they're communists and they're bad.
Facts, Tony.
Who do you think would replace him then?
Well, I saw one person on who I actually had a very good relationship with, but I'm sure that it would end very quickly. I saw him in your debate the other night, and he's slick, but he's got no facts. You know, he's got no facts.
Yes,
I thought he did well, considering
You're talking about Gavin Newsom.
yeah, considering that he didn't have the facts. I thought he did well. You know, he said, we have the lowest taxes in the country. We have the cleanest streets in the country. And I'm saying, wait a minute, is he talking about the same place? So he'd certainly be one. I guess they say that Kamala would be the odds to beat. Because they say if they didn't give it to her, the African-American vote, the black vote, would
Even
not
though
go
she
to
ran
them.
for the Senate
And we just
as
had a poll where I'm at 22 and
Indian-American.
25% with the black vote. If we have that,
African-American.
we can call the election over.
We got to take a break.
Thank you.
All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. A lot more to cover with former President Trump as we continue. We are in beautiful Davenport, Iowa. Thank you for being with us.
So, yeah, and he's right. So, while it's in commercial, so we'll bring it back up again after the commercial, but when it comes to Gavin Newsom is greasy. He's your typical politician. He's not going to be able to tell you the truth. He's going to give you what he thinks you want to hear. And he's been doing that since even before running for governor. If you go back and look up Adam Carolla, Dr. Drew, and Gavin Newsom, they welcomed him in to their podcast to talk about California and things were going on. Even back then, this was years ago. I listened to it. Man, I can't remember how many, it's 10 plus years or more. That Gavin Newsom came into Adam Carolla's studio. Adam Carolla reamed him. Like, oh yeah, click it or ticket is our biggest priority. But every other car actually has a beeper for when you don't have your seatbelt on. Outside of that, you have illegals selling flowers right down the street from my studio and where I do business. But I am a problem because I didn't buckle up my seatbelt. Is that really it? And yeah, D, I don't want to really talk over them. I'm I make occasional comments, but I would rather everybody hear what he has to say, and we'll talk during the commercials. But overall, Gavin Newsom is horrible. Now Kamala Harris has no chance, zero chance to win. She was only inserted as the VP because she is a female, and that is the only time the Democratic Party has admitted of gender of a female. And that is because they needed to get some votes for females because Joe Biden has no history of respecting any American and he has disrespected everyone. So, how do they bring in some votes? They try to bring in Kamala Harris, but most people hate her. Majority of Americans can't stand her. So, we'll just see. None. I will tell you right now, no Democrat can win. And I've been saying that for a while, and I'm not even a big Trump supporter. I like what he did, but I want to see bigger change. So when it comes down to it, I don't see any Democrat can win. None. If Manchin comes out and starts going with his no labels, he's going to pull from the Biden group. He's not going to pull from the Republicans. And that's what I'm getting to right now is why. The Republican Party has so much to run on how they ran this country up to 2019, on how this country was thriving and it was doing so well for the American people. That is what they have to run on. The Democrats have nothing, literally nothing to run on to say that they're going to do great for the American people. Nothing. It's all gone. Joe Biden pissed away that chance to try to gain more votes. He ruined it. Inserted exactly. Yeah, I don't disagree. No way a Democrat can win because they are killing us now. Agreed. 100% they are. Look at the Gavin Newsom debate with DeSantis. Gavin Newsom was lying a lot more than DeSantis. Gavin Newsom was like, this is a fact. And it's like, wrong. Every time you said this is a fact, it was a lie. Every time. When it came to California, he is running that place into a shithole, to use Trump's words. But Gavin Newsom doesn't have a chance. The Democratic Party doesn't have a chance. If they want to start propping up Hakeem Jeffries and AOC, maybe in a few elections, we can see what they're going to do. But we're just going to have to find out. I doubt it. AOC, honestly, might have a good chance of gaining some followers. AOC might. She is scary to me, but I honestly don't know if she would get enough to really get elected down the road. Now, about if you are sick, even with a common cold, being able to pull out of your house and force you into quarantine. Exactly. COVID. What did we do for 3 years? Let the government tell us what we can and cannot do. We couldn't trust our doctors to be telling us medically on what to do. The government had to tell us what to do. The only chance with the Dems was Kennedy. I don't even think him as a Democrat, he had a chance. I really think that JFK ruined that opportunity for him. He ran on very liberal, not very liberal, but pretty liberal views, got into office, and then was like, wait a minute, we're going to change this up. And then we all know how that ended. I don't think the Dems would have given him a chance, and I don't think the Democratic Party voters would have ended up supporting him anyways. There's just enough that are upset with Biden that they would give him a chance right now, but no chance to win, not even close. I first voted in 1984. I bear witness. It's all for show. Sure, that's all right. The Republicans are doing nothing in Congress right now. What makes you think anything will change? I don't know if you know much about me, but I'm wearing a shirt that says they both suck. Congress and both sides, parties are the problem, not individuals. It's the party. Individuals end up just following in line with party, but this is back on. We'll elaborate on this in a minute.
Welcome back to Hannity. We are in Davenport, Iowa, with a massive fun crowd, a rowdy crowd, and with GOP frontrunner President Donald Trump. Let me just throw out a list of some of the significant issues that we're facing as a country, and you've touched on a number of them. You mentioned borders day one. You mentioned energy day one. Look at where our economy is. Last year, $2 trillion in debt, 34 trillion overall.
Right.
We this year, Mr. President, will pay, before we spend a dime, $1 trillion on debt service alone,
right.
before Medicare, Social Security, national defense. That is unsustainable.
Yeah. So before COVID hit us, our gift from China, that was our gift. What happened to us with COVID, commonly known as the China virus. They don't like that. But it was the China virus. We were doing energy, taking our liquid gold out of the ground at a rate that's never been seen before, and it was going up. We were going to be using that liquid gold to sell to Europe instead of the pipeline from Russia, which I exposed and I stopped. You know, I stopped that line. Then they say I was nice to Russia. There was nobody that was nice. I was not nice to Russia. I stopped that pipeline. We would have been selling oil and gas to Europe, to Asia, all over the world. We would have been paying off debt. That debt would be way down right now because we have more. What people don't know, we have more liquid gold than any other country in the world by far. And we started off in 4th place. We were number 4. It was Saudi Arabia, it was Russia, it was 2 countries fighting for number 3, and it was us at number 4 or 5. By the time I left, we were number 1 by 25%. We would have been number 1 by 100, and we would have done twice what they were going to do combined. We would have been paying off debt, and we would have been reducing taxes. We gave you the biggest tax cut in the history of our country, bigger than the Reagan tax cut. We would have been reducing taxes still further. And that's why, Sean, that's why we had the most jobs of any president ever, because we got rid of regulations, tremendous. No president got rid of more regulations or close. And we gave you the big tax cut. So everybody had incentive and everybody was happy and everybody was working. I remember groups came to see me that wouldn't normally like me, and they said, we've never seen anything like it. We were actually starting to get along, but we got hit with the China virus. Some people think purposely. I don't. I think it was incompetence, but some people think purposely, because we were doing so much better than any other country ever, and we got hit. But I will tell you, we would be paying that debt off right now at levels like never seen before,
So
and it would have been a beautiful thing.
You brought us to energy independence for the first time in 75 years. Before you ran, I remember we had many discussions about energy independence, and you're saying that you would, in a second term, you will push America to be the most energy dominant country on earth, and that you could pay down that $34 trillion in debt, and we won't have a $1 trillion interest payment every year.
That's right. We would get it way down. And, you know, look, so it's Biden inflation. That's what it is. What he did with energy is unbelievable, because energy went up so much, gasoline, $5, $6 a gallon, that's what caused inflation. Now it's all over the place, but you have 29% total inflation. Now when it holds up, because the economy is starting to slow down very substantially, so when it holds up, he's saying, well, we don't have too much inflation. But he doesn't talk about all of the inflation that you've had to suffer over the last 3 years. No, we will have numbers like you've never seen. We have a thing in Alaska called ANWR. Ronald Reagan tried to get it approved. Everybody tried, Bush maybe a little bit, you know, he didn't work as hard. But we have ANWR in Alaska, the biggest anywhere in the world, including probably Saudi Arabia. I got it approved. I was so proud of it. They ended it in the first week. They ended it. They turned, we'll get it back. But we have more than anybody. We have more wealth than anybody, but we don't use it. And then guys like DeSantis and guys like many of the Democrats, but guys like DeSantis and to a lesser extent, Nikki Haley, they want to play around with your Social Security. You don't have to touch Social Security. We have money laying in the ground far greater than anything we can do by hurting senior citizens with their Social Security. Ron DeSantis wanted to bring up on Social Security. Now, of course, he says, well, I wouldn't. But, you know, one thing I learned about politicians, I've known them, I've dealt with them on the other side for a long time. Their first thought is always the thought that they go to. He wanted to raise the minimum age, the age on Social Security to 70. That's a big increase. But he also wanted to raise it to 75. If that happened, people would be devastated. We have such incredible wealth under our feet that takes care of everything. It will take care of, you know, if you go to Saudi Arabia And they bought many Boeings, many planes. And I said to them, do you use financing for that? They didn't even know what the word meant. They have so much money. They have a fund, $21 trillion. It's all for oil. And we have more oil and gas than they do. Our country can be rich again. John Kerry has to be stopped. He's destroying our country. This guy.
Back.
I mean, think of it. He goes all over the world in a private jet, by the way. He goes all over the world talking to these people about getting rid of coal plants. They all laugh at him. They, treat him with respect. He's gone. They say, what an idiot. What a jerk. And then they go ahead and they build their coal plants. He goes to China about, let's say, the atmosphere. He talks about global warming. He talks about all, they don't call it global warming so much. Now they call it climate change because it wasn't working. Global warming wasn't working when it was cooling. So now they call it climate change. That takes care of everything. I am an environmentalist, but we're going to destroy our country with this Green New Deal stuff that doesn't work. Just to finish, we have so much wealth and power under our feet. No other country has it. China doesn't have it. Why are we going to electric? They do have what you need to do the batteries, but they don't have what you need to do the gasoline. We have, and it's what people want to drive right now. And there's a little story about it, but you're going to see it a lot, I guarantee you. They have so many electric vehicles, nobody wants to buy them. They're expensive, although they're probably...
I don't agree with that.
Nobody wants to buy them.
3,000 dealers around the country wrote Biden and said, please stop making us sell something they don't want. Ford lost $4.5 billion.
I agree with that part.
The government is subsidizing that.
A lot. They're paying a lot.
Saying every time you make a car, we give you thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, and the people don't want them. And I'm not knocking electric cars. We should sell electric, but we should also sell combustion engine gasoline cars.
Competition is healthy.
Hybrids. The hybrids are fine. We should be able to buy everything. Some people might like an electric car. We should be able to buy an electric car. But to say that we're not going to do, and this is our strength because we have this stuff under the ground and we have people going around really destroying our country. They're destroying our country at the border. They will allow, in my opinion, because you don't hear the real numbers, 15 million people into our country by the time Biden gets out, which hopefully will be very soon. If they get another term, this country is finished. By the time he gets out, and the people are coming from prisons all over the world, they're coming from mental institutions all over the world, and they're terrorists. And this country is going to be suffering a very big price. It's amazing that it hasn't happened. And interestingly, I had very strong borders, the strongest ever. We had the strongest border in history. All they had to do is leave Brandon Judd and leave Tom Homan and leave all these guys.
Let me put this up on the screen.
Yeah, we had the strongest borders in history.
Let me put this on the screen.
Go ahead.
Iran is the #1 state sponsor of terror.
Right.
Okay, well, foreign nationals founded our southern border because of Joe Biden's open borders.
Right.
From Iran, 659. From Syria, 538. From Afghanistan, 6,386. Egypt, 3,153. 12,605 from Russia. 26,113 from China. Now, could you explain to me, what do you think the odds are that among that group of people, from our top geopolitical foes in most cases, that terrorist cells have entered the country because of the 8 million people Joe Biden has allowed into this country unvetted? What are the odds?
The odds are 100%. Look, why do we have 26,000
How scary is that?
Think of it. It's 100. No, it's 100%. And by the way, we had nothing during remember I had the travel ban. I said, I don't want people coming from countries that want to blow us up. And we put a travel ban, and some people thought I was discriminating. But if you think about it, I went 4 years with no problem. We didn't have any problem. We didn't have buildings being knocked down. We didn't have World Trade Centers. We didn't have any of that. We had a very strong travel ban. And if you came from a country that was a country, I can tell you right now, I can name every one of them. We just didn't want you. I'm sorry. And we actually had it passed by the Supreme Court. And that was a big day. But we didn't have a problem.
Got to take a break. We'll come back. More with that from Davenport, Iowa, with former President Donald Trump. Straight ahead as we continue.
All right. So, a couple things real quick. Electric cars. I love that he clarified what he meant by. I see comments in here, and this is not calling you guys out, but all it is pointing out. I think there's a negative feel when it comes to electric cars, that they are extremely bad. They are actually not. They are very, very important in the automobile market because it creates competition. Right now in America, you have the big three. You have Chevy, you have Ford, and you have Chrysler. You don't have any other American mades that really lead or challenge them. Tesla is the first one. Tesla is the first one to also go to the government in 2008 and ask for money, say, hey, don't bail them out. You bailed them out before, and then American taxpayers paid for it. Give us some money. We're trying to grow as an American made business. So competition is good. And that is where we got to make sure we treat that fairly, that we do welcome electric cars. It should not be forced, but we should actually allow electric cars coming in the market to where then we can have more competition and better pricing. So that's what I wanted to say about the electric cars. No, not raising the retirement age. That is the first time I've heard him touch on that. That's a fairly recent political topic. I think it's awesome. We should not be increasing the retirement age. If we didn't have it, if we can't afford to live now, increasing it and making people work more to later is ridiculous. Like it makes no sense. We have to have a stronger economy, stronger America, all of those things to enable people to retire earlier, not later in life. Later in life plays into the big business that we keep people as Walmart greeters and all of those things. So big corporations can take out insurance policies on you, and then they can reap some benefits when you pass away, but you're still an employee. So that is why I'm not for increasing the retirement age, is because all it plays into is big business. We shouldn't be doing that. When it comes to terror at the southern border and the odds, I don't think he's off. Saying 100% is an extreme, but I get what he's saying. I really do. It is a nervous, very crazy thing to say that our southern border doesn't risk our national security. It does. It very significantly increases our national security within our country. And we have a new troll tonight. Hey, Paul Peters, welcome. This guy, you already got enough attention from me. Good night. Rose, I'm glad I can convinced you. But if you don't want an electric car, don't get one. That's okay. But this hate on electric cars, you got to realize, is also being perpetuated and pushed by the automotive industry because they don't want to make electric cars because they're not going to help their friends in the oil industry. So that is where this hatred is building momentum, because the big business side of our country and capitalism, kind of the downside of it, is allowing these people to make friends and push and help promote their friends' businesses, not competition. We have to promote competition. And so that's why I love electric cars. By the way, I also love electric cars, especially the dual motor Tesla, with how fast it goes. Man, it's amazing. Like, amazing. The Tesla truck, it's cool, but I will say it's kind of ugly. I still want one. I just do. But we'll see. Like, I so can't wait to see one on the roads. They increase retirement age. I think that will lead to higher disability. Yeah, valid point. More government dependence, right? Because retirement doesn't mean you're necessarily dependent on the government. You could have retired on your own money. You're not retired. You're not dependent on the government. What do we know about big government? They want you dependent on them. And so if you do take out disability, you are 100% dependent on the government. So that is probably exactly where it's at. I agree with you, Janet. I don't hate it, but pushing the electric car without enough stations, 100%. Don't disagree with you at all. Here in Utah, a lot of people in Salt Lake City own Teslas, and they try to drive Teslas to Vegas, which is just slightly out of the range of a full charged Tesla. There's a city called Beaver, Utah, and they had a Tesla station, the only one that's really close to Vegas, and that shut down for a couple months, you would see Teslas like stranded down there, and that is a problem. So I'm acknowledging it is an issue, but if you live within a reasonable distance to work and back every day, it's a decent car you could do, charge at home, not have to stop at gas ever, not have to do oil changes ever. Those type of things, it'd be awesome. But they're coming back on.
Welcome back to Hannity, broadcasting from Davenport, Iowa. Thank you so much for being here. We continue with former President Donald Trump. The Iowa caucus is coming up soon. Let me give you the last word tonight. The people of Iowa, the first caucus, not that far away. Your final message to the people.
Well, first of all, I love this state. We had two big victories here, big victories. We won by a lot. And from the enthusiasm in the polls, we're going to win by a lot more than we won even the last two times. But we won by a lot. I kept you first in the nation. You know that. I was the one. Nobody else. I kept you first. There was a big move, Sean, to move Iowa into the middle or to the back of the pack because they don't know if it represents this country. I said, Iowa represents this country more than any place, and it also represents tradition. When you think of Iowa, you think of farms and you think of politics, and we're going to keep it that way, okay? But I just want to thank the people in this room because they really get it. I don't have to go through the liquid gold with them. They know all about it, and they also know they have their own liquid gold. It's called corn, okay? And that corn is just as good. But I love you very much. You've been so incredible to me. I'm going to be around for the next, it's 5 weeks now. And we'll be coming here a little bit. And then the last couple of weeks, we'll be blitzing because we don't want to we're up, I guess, by like 30 or 40 points, but we're not taking any chances. We don't want to take any chance. And you know, the really nice thing, you know, when you have a good time and when you love people and they love you, this hour went so fast. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
President Donald Trump. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have left this evening. Thank you for being with us. Quick programming note, live audience shows in New York City tomorrow, Wednesday, and one on Thursday. Just go to Hannity.com.
All right, we'll pull that down. If something magically happens and they come back, I'll keep an eye on it over here. But I'm just going to point this out, and this is the last attention you're going to get. You are clearly one ignorant SOB. We'll just say that. If you think that I support Trump and I am a big Trump supporter, you're on the wrong channel. Change the channel, man. Why pay that much and not be able to drive one? Yeah, I agree with you. And I do recommend solar, by the way. I most of you have seen me on my personal page. I love solar. I have it decked out on my motorhome so I can travel the country and be able to work from anywhere. Danny, you're bringing up solid points. Hydrogen is it. Hydrogen is a big thing. As long as we can make it safe, that's the one thing. I've seen people make hydrogen bombs and they, not bombs, but hydrogen sails that turn into bombs. And so it gets questionable. But if we can make them safe, we're good. Threatening to big pharma, oil, gas, cotton, bricks, so on. Yes. I can't see Paul at all. LOL. LMAO. Yeah, Paul is a special individual. He already got enough tension for tonight. He don't know you. Nope, he doesn't. Who do you support? I want somebody new. So I'm very against the Republican Party, very against the Democratic Party, because I believe that's how we got into this place where we're currently at. I want a refreshing change, and I want to decimate the system that we currently have. No more alphabet agencies, CIA, FBI, none of them. ATF. Everybody forgets about the ATF. ATF needs to go. Who do I support today? I'm actually in Vivek's camp because he wants to decimate and ruin and remove all of those agencies that exist. And I think he's a fresh of breath air, but he doesn't have a chance. You guys already know, I admit this, that Trump's going to win. I don't see any other way. But I've always been more libertarian, more central, not really falling into party politics. I don't do that very well. But when it comes down to things, we all want the same. We want the best for our country. And unfortunately, I just don't think parties are going to be the solution. They're the ones that put in this corruption that we currently have today. Someone called you a dildo with a hat on. Yes, they did. This Paul dude. Let me go back and find his comment. This one right here. Like, whoever Paul Peters is, man. And you're the one that didn't show up. I sent you a text and you ignore me. Vivek for VP, I think that's likely. Let me address one last thing that Trump said that I don't like. Corn is liquid gold. I don't like that he said that, because right now in the farming industry, we have subsidized corn, we have subsidized wheat and other things like that we pay farmers to do corn and all of these things, but not actually produce real food. The reason why farmers are paid to do corn is because we create ethanol from that and we put that in gasoline today. So we created this industry that is just fueling the same oil and automotive part group that has been running our country for a very long time. So I don't like corn in that sense, but I understand what he's saying. He's talking about farmers, and predominantly in Iowa, they are big corn farmers. But I wish we could turn it into farming other things instead of corn. Tonight was the first time I was able to listen to Trump without my head hurting. I don't disagree with you. I think he did well, but as I said early on, there's a lot of cuts in those clips. There's a lot of cuts. They cut a lot out. So I would like to see what was there. Paul has a crush on you. Maybe that's his problem. I want a third party, the Patriots Party. We might be seeing that coming up in the next few elections. I think you're seeing both political establishment parties falling apart, that you're going to start seeing new things come about. I wish we would get rid of parties. I know there are some people that have really good opinions on why parties are important, but I think parties make Americans lazy. So they're like, oh, Republican Party, check, that's all who I need to vote for. Oh, Democratic Party, check, that's all who I need to vote for. I don't like that. I want people to vote by policy and make sure that they are somewhat educated voters. And that's where we got to do it. Cuts. It was not live. It was cut. It was pre-recorded. And if you go back to the beginning of it, you'll see it. Trump ended his talk very quickly per that cut, and then Hannity was already talking, and so it cut right in. So it was not live tonight. It was pre-recorded, and I think that was already announced before. Couple more minutes, we'll go over some comments. It looks like a lot of you guys are still here, so I appreciate you guys hanging out. This was fun. I've always been independent, but they restrict our voting. Yeah, you and me both. I've been registered unaffiliated my entire voting life. And so, yeah, I can't participate in primaries. I can't do a lot of things here in Utah because I'm not registered Democrat or Republican. We're growing. As soon as Libertarian Party or one of the other parties that I like, there's Green Party a little bit. That goes back and forth, but stuff like that. I'll jump in and I'll help. Anybody that goes against the system, even if they have an R in their name, everybody knows that's longtime followers. Ron Paul is who opened my eyes against the government. Ron Paul is the reason why I am engaged in politics today. And he is number one in my mind and runs on the Republican Party because we mostly understand the conservative views and fit in that area if you had to pick Democrats or Republicans. But we all know we are anti-big government, on to end the Fed, audit the Fed, remove the FBI because the FBI was installed under an executive order that everybody is accepted as in normal government. And along with the ATF, they can make laws without any government involvement at all. That's illegal. That's against the Constitution. Third party can't win. With that mentality, third party will never win. If you don't ever give them a chance or try to give them some government money by them getting 5% of the vote in polls or being able to participate, they will never get the government money to participate in elections like Republicans and Democrats always do. That's always my argument when anybody says third party can't win. It's because you always fall into the same system that they have you stuck in. Valid. Yeah, That's true. I would really like to see that. Proof of ID to buy liquor. Then you should be able to have a proof of ID to vote. I don't disagree with that at all. Danny, I want to know, like, you say a lot of good things, and I do like your point of view, and you and I probably see eye to eye on a lot. Are you going to vote for Trump in 2024? I'm curious. We only have his son now. Yeah, and Rand is great too. And Ron said that. Rand is great too. You just can't beat Ron. Sorry, you just can't. Ron Paul and what he did and what he said, and all in all, you can go back and look at every clip that he said. It is true today. And you can go back and I'll give you one clip. Go back and look at 2009, Ron Paul yelling at Congress on the floor, telling them they should not fund Israel and pass a bill to pay Israel because they are building and creating Hamas and funding it. And so that's how you can correlate events that Ron Paul has been screaming about for a long time that is still relevant today, 14 years later. All the ABC groups can go 100%. Last few comments, and then we'll call it from here. After this term, there's nothing to say. People won't write in an independent running. I actually think the parties are going to fall apart, Janet. You won't have to do write-in. You already see the devastation in the Republican Party right now. You're not going to see unified Republican voting once Trump's done in 2028. In 2028, you're going to have some big splash, and I don't think DeSantis is going to do it. Vivek may, but I think Vivek is going to end up having to run on a different ticket. We'll see. No, I'm tired of dirty perpetuating this evil game. So what are you going to do? Are you going to vote or no vote? Because you've had to hear my rant on not voting. Yeah, Trump was over. You can go back and rewatch the replay. Replay. He was on Hannity for just under an hour. They're eating each other from inside out. Agreed. The nation can't last much longer the way it's going. Agreed. It can't. Just go look at our GDP. Go look at the dollar and all of this stuff. We're in a dramatic decline as a country since 2020. And yes, that was under Trump. I'm going to be clear with that. Since 2020, we have been in a dramatic decline, started to rebound because governors started to fight back against the federal government and said, no, we are opening. That's how we are going to keep things going. We are going to open up. So things started changing, started getting better. And then all of a sudden, we lost the election. And I said it, we lost the election. Everybody can get in arms and all of those things, but it was done deal. Let's not get all caught up in that. Let's focus on how we're going to vote in 2024 and going forward. You guys already know my ranting of not participating in local elections. 2020 for locally, we didn't show up. 2022, we didn't show up even more. Everybody failed. Here in Utah, 2023, our special election, 27% of people showed up to vote. That is not how you take back your country. Anyways, I could go on for rants for days about participating in elections. I was watching it and it just shut off. I don't understand that comment. Yeah, I might, Rose. It's just stuff that everybody knows my stance with Trump, and so I don't want to wear people out. I get it, but I will agree that Trump does some right things and says the right things, some of the right things. Decline because of sin. Agreed. Welcome. Thanks for joining, guys. Ari Lake and Ivanka 2028. That would be interesting. I'd be intrigued to hear what they have to say. I like Ivanka. She's a good business person. Ari Lake, I think she might be riding on the high of Trump, but we'll see what she really does. I don't have much negative to say about her, but I think she was riding Trump's coattails. I did. I'm not voting this time. Danny, I'm gonna call you out a little bit. If you don't vote, you don't have a voice, man. You have to vote. You have to. If you don't vote, you don't have a say. A lot of people at my job have lost faith in elections. Yeah, that's my problem. That is a big problem. And that's why I'm saying you still got to vote. If 100%, let me give you guys this, and I'm going to keep going on this rant, but I'm going to let it go. If 100% of Republicans showed up and voted, 100%. Actually, you know what? Let me give you guys a break. If 80% of Republicans showed up and voted, you would win every time. If 80% of Republicans would show up and vote, you would win every election until the Democrats change their game. But you don't. The most you get is mid-60s, maybe 70%. If everybody shows up and votes, you leave no room for cheating. If you don't vote, you leave somebody else to vote for you, and that is usually the cheaters. That is why you have to show up and vote. I'm gonna get off that soapbox because that one is I can go on forever. Vote in person, sure. I'm not adamant about that anymore, but just vote. Yeah, thanks. We'll probably do this again. I like doing these. I just don't like to talk over the people that are running for their position. We need to hear from them, and that's the important part. And so that's why I stay silent. But yeah, you're welcome. All right, guys, I'm gonna call this out. Everybody, have a good night. Go out and vote, Danny. You got beef with that? Let's talk. But voting is important, even if you don't feel your vote matters. You have to participate, or you're letting somebody else vote on your behalf. But have a great night, guys. We'll talk with you guys later.